Cormac McCarthy has often been criticized for not talking about women enough, not having enough female characters. And in his Stella Maris, he was also criticized. His 2022 novel, Stella Maris, he was also criticized for not making Alicia Western, the female protagonist in the book, seem authentic. And we are about to read Cormac McCarthy commentating on female hysteria, which is one of the more controversial things that psychiatry, religion, whatever, have done to women. And female hysteria is described by Wikipedia as a common medical diagnosis for women. It was described as exhibiting a wide array of symptoms, including anxiety, shortness of breath, fainting, nervousness, sexual desire, insomnia, fluid retention, heaviness in the abdomen, irritability, loss of appetite for food or sex, or even sexual forward behavior, and a tendency to cause more trouble for others. It's no longer recognized by medical authorities as a medical disorder. Its diagnosis and treatment were routine for hundreds of years in Western Europe. In Western medicine, hysteria was considered both common and chronic among women. Even though it was categorized as a disease, hysteria's symptoms were synonymous with normal functioning female sexuality. In the context of hysteria, even every symptom and negative thought was linked to sex. In extreme cases, women were forced to enter an insane asylum or undergo surgical hysterectomies. And an easier way to explain this is anything that men can't explain away, whether it be anxiety, depression that both genders experience. But when it's a women in the subservient role, then it's a problem because they're causing trouble and they shouldn't be doing that. So until 1980, female hysteria was actually in the psychological DSM, which was revered as a very, I mean, it's honestly always been problematic and still is very problematic, but still it was recognized in the Western world not just as a disorder but as a disease. And if you guys love this channel and love this Cormac McCarthy content, I have 13 hours of content just like this on the Cormac McCarthy course. The link is down in the description below, and it's where we dive a little bit deeper into his novels, into taboo topics, and of course, you're going to be helping support this channel. And I also know that every single one of you guys is super fly out in the world. But if you would like to be super fly with some Cormac McCarthy apparel, go to shirtlore.com. Link is down in the description below. We have hoodies, we have streetwear, we have normal t-shirts, and have over 13 designs right now that are for Cormac McCarthy. So if you would like to support the channel in any way, that would be great. Or just hit the like button right now, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, help me out in that way. It would mean a lot. And let's get back to the video. And so Cormac commentates on this by saying, quote, "Women enjoy a different history of madness. From witchcraft to hysteria, we are just bad news." And this is Alicia Western talking, everybody. "We know that women were condemned as witches because they were mentally unstable, but no one has considered the numbers, even few as they might be, of women who were stoned to death for being bright. That I haven't wound up chained to a cellar wall or burned at the stake is not a testament to our ascending civility, but to our ascending skepticism. If we still believed in witches, we'd still be burning them. Hook-nosed crones strapped into the electric chair. No one has ever seemed to comment that the stereotypical witch is meant to appear Jewish. I guess the skepticism is okay, if you can stomach what goes with it. I'm happy to be treated well, but I know that it's an uncertain business. When this world which reason has created is carried off at last, it will take reason with it, and it will be a long time coming back. What happened to our turns?" So this is actually a massive commentary on the oppression of women and so many other things. And we're going to take this bit by bit. But the first part is something I've never thought about before, is that obviously, and it's common sense, we don't burn witches anymore. We have martyrs and persecute people in different ways now, obviously. But the burning of the witch is no longer around because no one really believes in the control of energy anymore. No one, a lot of people are religious or believe in the law of attraction, but in general, very deep superstition has been rooted out of, especially the Western world. Even though all religion is, generally very similar to occultism if you look at it at a very high level. So that's a great idea. It's not the ascending. We're not becoming more civil. We're not becoming better. We're not transitioning out of the blood meridian era. We're just becoming more skeptical. And it's just, we laugh at those people now. We laugh at the Wiccans or whoever. But Alicia always makes another great comment that why would the Jews always have, not the Jews, excuse me, why did all of these witches fit the general stereotypical Jewish attributes? And what McCarthy's trying to say here is because that they were smarter than everyone else. That, as I talked about in my previous video, go check that one out on Jewish intelligence, Ashkenazi Jews have a higher IQ score. And Cormac seems to believe that theory and that IQ actually is a good indicator of intelligence. And even better, Cormac kind of gets into the Rhodex apocalyptic, type talk when he says that reality is uncertain and that women are being treated a lot better now, but one day reason may go away again. If you believe in ancient civilizations, whether they were in Egypt, South America, Atlantis, wherever, you could argue that there was a fall. Maybe it was the Younger Dryas meteor impact, if that actually happened, or whatever. But there was a fall of society, and we maybe lost reason for thousands of years until we pulled up into Greek civilization and some of the civilizations around that time. Even Egyptian civilization, obviously they had reason in mathematics and whatnot, but high levels of reason that exhibited in Chinese and Greek culture around the turn of this last century, excuse me, last millennium. And it's a really good line at the end, and Alicia asks, what happened to our turns? What happened to women being able to be the smart ones, to have some control? Because right now we strive for in this country to have equal rights. Now women have equal voting rights and all these different things. Like legally, every citizen of the United States has equal rights. But if we look to Foucault and whatnot, we obviously understand there are deep, and this is just also obvious, we don't need Foucault, is that there are deep powers, wars within power between everything. It may not even be conscious warfare. It's just like, are there more women or more men in this industry? And that creates a certain balance or imbalance. And obviously, if we look throughout the last, thousand, maybe since the start of recorded history, men have been the one with more power in general. And so when are women going to be able to use reason and use logic and use these things that Cormac thinks can build a better society to kind of be on top of that power structure? Statements like this one are very powerful because Alicia is a schizophrenic. She is spiraling towards death. She's also very young and having all these different problems. So one of the only things she knows is about mathematics and about physics, about Bobby, about these things. She's kind of a ranter. She thinks she's a high intelligent. Well, she is very smart. And so if you've ever met someone like that, they kind of act like this. They really don't necessarily get into things such as gender, because getting into the whole gender thing requires individuation. And Alicia, because of her love for Bobby and father trauma and the whole sins of the father, nuclear radiation, who knows what's going on there, she can't evolve. And that lack of evolution is keeping her in this hyper rationality. And you could say that Stella Maris is a critique of hyper rationality, and Cormac has done this multiple times. The judge is hyper rational. Anton Chigurh is hyper rational. And even though we idolize all three of these characters and view them very well, they all end up in tragic circumstances and are also somewhat laughable as characters. The judge is a rambler. He is just sitting there spewing this kind of watered down, weird Nietzschean commentary to a bunch of dudes that really don't care. And I don't think in Blood Meridian, especially, McCarthy was trying to get across some philosophy to live by, like, hey, this is a personal development manual and this is the truth. He was writing from the perspective of this kind of delusional Judge Holden character that is a historical person, maybe Charles Weber or whoever the hell it was. And the same with Chigurh. We love the bad guy. We love this guy. We think he's a badass, especially if you saw No Country for Old Men when you were young like I did. But he's just a weird dude that is, functioning totally on this coin flip. And the same with Alicia Western. We would all love to be that smart and have that amount of knowledge, but what does that do to you? What is that weird genetics times trauma equation that happens to people who are talented but have had a very hard life? And I'm glad that I'm not experiencing that, because the small amount that I have experienced is already enough, and it's already more overwhelming than I need for the rest of my life. So if you guys like this video, I just released another video on Jewish intelligence and Cormac exploring that idea. And we got into that a little bit in this presentation. So go check that one out, and I will see you guys over there. Peace.